Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I am Kilobyte, and I'm here with my fabulous co-host.
Hey, I'm Onyx.
And I'm Clickbait.
And on today's special episode, we have another fantastic guest with us, Dick Terhune, a prolific voice actor known for roles such as a Worgen in World of Warcraft, and Prowl, Maccadams, and more from Transformers Cyberverse, in addition to many narration, commercials, films, and TV shows. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be at Swerve's. I don't think I've ever been in this bar before.
It's pretty good. The Energon's pretty good, and sometimes
Energon
too
is pretty
strong.
good.
Hope you can hold your Hendrix.
Well, is it as good as at the old oil house? That's what I want to know.
Ooh,
Oh,
I don't
it can't
know.
beat that. I don't
I
think
don't
we
think
can
we
beat
can
that.
beat that
Just-
for sure.
It's a fan favorite.
I mean, that 4,233rd blend, that's the one.
That is the one.
That
That's a
sounds
classic.
incredible.
I have
Very
a bottle
spendy.
at home, and they told me to not open it for like another million years, so I'm waiting.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
You have to make sure it's aged appropriately.
Of course.
Yes, yes.
No Energon before it's time.
Nope.
No, absolutely not.
No, you don't want to do that.
Mm-mm.
I think Clickbait has her first question for you. If you're
I
ready.
do.
I'm ready.
Our first question is one that we start off with everybody, and it is, let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, happy to. I was born in a small town in Nebraska. Yes, we actually do exist, people from Nebraska. And when I was in my teenage years, I started acting with community theater and school shows and things like that. And I think around when I was 16, I got a job at the local radio station. And this was in the days when you could actually walk to the local radio station and say, yeah, I'd like to apply for a job, and they just might give you one. So in my case, they said, yeah, come on out Wednesday about 5 o'clock. So I did, and the guys there showed me around the station, and they showed me into the control room. They said, this is how you turn on the mic. This is how you start a commercial. This is how you play a song. You got that? Okay, good, because you're doing the 6 o'clock news.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was my audition, and I guess it worked because I got the job, and, being in radio, that was my high school job, which was, really kind of cool for me, because while I was DJing, doing news, and running a music program on the weekends as well, I also got to learn my way around a commercial production studio very well. So I started honing my chops as a voice actor in there, also as a writer and as a producer, because I would create comedy bits for my weekend show. And when you're doing a weekend shift, there is nobody else at the station that you can pull into the studio and say, hey, could you do these lines for me? So I had to do everything myself. So that's how I started getting into my head the ability to create characters and multiple characters on the fly, edit them together, make it sound like it was working. And that really became the basis for what I would do in my future life. Fast forward a decade or so, and I moved to the East Coast, started working in radio in New York, spent a few years there, and finally technology caught up with my ambitions, which allowed me to leave that day job for my new day job, which is as a voice actor in my home studio.
That's very exciting
Wow.
and fantastic to have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Very fun and very interesting. We've had a few voice actors that also started in radio, so I liked seeing how like a lot of intro to voice acting was through radio and all that.
Radio and theater are the two
Yeah,
most common ones
when
we
you
get.
actually go back to the inception of radio, obviously we had no television at that time, so you had radio programs that were scripted, and there were comedies, there were dramas, there were horror stories, there were westerns, there was sci-fi, and they brought actors in from the theater and sometimes from film who had to translate their skills, into getting behind a microphone. And I'll never forget Orson Welles, who was a famous actor and director and filmmaker, but also a very popular radio actor. And he's the one who created the famous War of the Worlds broadcast in the 1930s that was so good, people thought it was real. People thought America
Wow.
had been invaded by Martians.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
when this went on the CBS network, it was on Halloween night, I want to say 1936 or 8. Somebody check the wiki on that. The network execs came in and said, you have to tell people this is not real. And so the announcer would have to occasionally break in and say, you're listening to a dramatic narration of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. People still thought it was completely real. I know that audio is available, and I encourage anyone at all who's interested in voice acting to listen to H.G. Wells and Orson Welles' broadcast of War of the Worlds. It was called the Panic Broadcast, because from coast to coast, people thought there was an alien invasion. So my point is that acting came into radio and then went to TV, but eventually radio folks discovered that they could also act, and that's where you get a lot of the voice actors that we have today.
That's fantastic.
Very fascinating.
What a fun
Able to
story.
use
Wow.
the bar's Wi-Fi here, and it looks like it was October 30th, 1938 was the broadcast.
38.
Oh.
Nailed
Wow.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
That's
Shall we
awesome.
move to our next question?
If there's no objections, I think so.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay,
it.
cool.
No objections from the floor. The motion is carried.
Motion's
I know what
carried.
I'm going to be listening to after this.
Right? So, you told us a little bit about your story. Can you tell us what first brought you into the world of Transformers? Could it have been a show, a comic, a character, toys, or something else?
All of the above. 1984
Fantastic.
G1 TV show. I was there. I started watching it, but I think more than watching it, I listened to it. I listened to the performances of Peter Cullen and Frank Welker and Chris Latta and Casey Kasem and Scatman Crothers and Dan Gilson and everybody who made that show what it was. It was lightning in a bottle. And I would listen to this and I would watch it. That was the show that made me want to be a voice actor. I also did start collecting the toys and got actually a pretty darn good collection over the years. I did read a few of the comics, but it all goes back to that G1 TV show. That's what got me into it.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
Can't
We
beat a
also
classic.
have the bit of collecting myself too.
Yes,
now,
same.
A bit? Just a bit?
Just a little bit.
I don't know what you're talking
It's
about.
not that
collecting.
bad.
How many rooms? How many
It's not a
rooms have you
phase,
devoted to
Mom.
your collection? That's what I want to know.
It's one massive room.
Yeah, I have the ones in my room, and then because my space is small, I have many, many boxes that are out in storage.
I love it.
They're so cool. I love all the action figures. They're so cool.
Well, I think we might be ready for the next one. We talked about your starting out and the World Transformers, so now let's connect them a little bit. So tell us about your process you went through when you first learned you were going to be playing a Transformer and how that's a little bit different when you were preparing for the role as the Worgen in like World of Warcraft, which is a video game.
Well, the Worgen came first. I believe that was around 2010. And I was not actually supposed to audition for that game at all. My agent called me up one day and said she wanted me to go into New York for some auditions for a couple of commercials. And I went to the first one, and the producer there said, okay, I want you to think of this place as an Asian Kmart. So while I was trying to wrap my head around that, he said, I want you to sound Asian. So first of all, huh? Second of all, offensive. And
Yeah.
third, what about my demo made you think that I was Asian so that you called me
Oh
here
my
for
gosh.
this?
Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
Wow.
But instead of saying all that, I said, well, okay, Asian. What are you looking for? Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Thai, Vietnamese? And he said, just sound Asian. Oh boy. So I went into the
Boy,
booth.
oh my goodness.
I laid down a couple of tracks that sounded like a bad Jackie Chan, and I left knowing I would never hear from those people again, and pretty glad I didn't, because the next audition I went to while I was waiting, because the casting facilities in New York usually have like 3 or 4 or 5 or more studios all in one office space.
Mm-hmm.
So different rooms are auditioning different projects. Well, I was next to a room where I saw a sign that said World of Warcraft. And I said, I've heard of that. So I went over and I grabbed the side, which is a portion of a script, and it said casting for the Worgen, a race of 7-foot-tall sentient warrior werewolves. I got on the phone then and there and said, Anne, can you get me in that room? And an hour later, she had done it. She had called the casting people, and they said, yeah, there's a guy sitting out in your waiting room right now. Can you see him? They did bring me in, and that was the role I booked that day. Didn't get either one of the other commercials, but I booked World of Warcraft because I looked up and saw a sign and made a phone call.
What a fun
That's
story.
great.
And then the process for that one involved me about a week later going to a gorgeous Midtown Manhattan recording studio. Oh, I can still remember the catering. It was wonderful.
Oh my gosh.
That's the most important bit.
Yeah, of course.
But the first thing that happened was I went in and, I was already, they booked me for a 7-hour session. And I was already getting ready. Yeah, and I couldn't think, what can I possibly do for 7 hours? But I went in, I was all ready to start howling and growling my way through the day. And Andrea Toyas, who is the casting and voice director for Blizzard Entertainment, basically said, sit. And I did. And she said, I want to play something for you. And on the big, beautiful sound system in this room, they played me the orchestral theme for Gilneas, which is the realm of the Worgen.
Beautiful soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was at that point that I said, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the studio and they brought me a couple of pages of lines, which were reactions, some things to move the plot forward, and a lot of jokes. I mean, these guys must sit, in darkened rooms, bored out of their minds from the jokes that they were trying to get me to read in my werewolf Worgen voice, like Ruby Roo and Worgen Hard or Hardly Worgen, right?
That's awesome.
So yeah,
Oh
they paid me to record that stuff. And I think you can probably still access that stuff if you play World of Warcraft as the Worgen. But anyway, I did all that. Yeah, okay, good. It's been verified now. It's been
Our
verified.
resident World of Warcraft player here.
Philby uses all the bandwidth to play WoW here in the bar.
Oh, yes. It's the Wi-Fi doesn't work for anything else when he's
No
playing. World of
wonder
Warcraft.
navigation conks out so much. Okay, that explains a lot. So, like, an hour and a half later, I was done with that, and I'm going like, okay, yeah, got that. Well, then he brought in some more pages and said, okay, now we fight. Now, as you know, anytime you play any sort of video game, the characters, they will run, and so they have to sound like they're running, right? Or they'll get hit. Those are all the sounds I had to make as the Worgen. And sometimes, well, actually most of the time, with weapons. So the progression went from fist to claw to dagger to short sword, regular sword, long sword, axe, bigger axe, double axe, gigantic double battle axe, and the weapons just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had to both hit and be hit with each one. So if I'm throwing a punch, it's ugh. If I'm taking a punch, it's ah. And they wanted
Sounds
several
exhausting.
takes of each one. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it was, because, 5 hours later, the guy says, okay, now you die. And I honestly thought I could at that point.
Oh,
So
my
I
goodness.
laid down several very compelling and convincing Worgen death throws. And I still brought the session in early. It was under 7 hours. So
Wow.
yay for me. And I was walking up Madison Avenue and exhausted and wrung out little werewolf, but I was very happy.
I bet you were
Oh,
exhausted.
man.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, people still talk to me about that role in that game. Okay, so that was the preparation for that. When some years later, like 4 or 5 years later, no, it was 2017. 2017, my agent called and let me know that I had been cast in Transformers. So after I regained consciousness and did a lot of fist pumping, then I did a little more research on the characters that I'd been hired to play. First of which was Prowl. He was really the one name brand Transformer that I ever played. So I did a little research on him, remembered him, of course, from the G1, and there had been other iterations of him in other series throughout the years. The idea with the Cyberverse Prowl is that he is a strategist, he is a tactician, he is a weapons expert. He will, without hesitation, take a bullet for Optimus Prime, and spoiler alert, he does. So I really just also had to remember I'm putting this behind a microphone and they are animating the character around me. So that was good.
Cool.
I mean, I didn't have to sync up to anything. I was able to create the character first and then they filled it in around me.
That's much easier to do. Yeah, that's much nicer.
It is. I think it makes so much more sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I hear a lot of stories about people who dub anime from Japanese into English. And that's a lot tougher. I mean, first the translation is not always great,
Sometimes
and
rough.
then you have to match the timing. Glad that was not the case with this. But, you know, I was able to make him tough and smart and always at the ready and always extremely knowledgeable. And sort of in contrast, they also hired me to play a character that nobody had ever seen on an animated Transformers before, and that is Maccadam, who runs the old oil house in the Lower East Quadrant of Cybertron. And, you know, there are a lot of people who know the mythology surrounding Maccadam. There's a rumor that he's one of the 13th original primes because he says these weird things sometimes that kind of sound like premonitions. Yeah. Also, his old oil house is neutral ground. Autobot, neutral, or Decepticon makes no difference to me. If you can pay, you can stay. That, and he would not allow fighting. So, of course, that became a plot point later on in the show as well. So when I went in for Maccadam, they didn't have any artwork on him yet. So I said, well, tell me about him. What's his build? What's he like? And they said, well, he's a great, big, jovial barkeeper. He basically runs Cheers on Cybertron. And so I thought about that, and I stood up behind the mic, and I just kind of stuck my belly out and started doing this voice, and would allow myself the occasional dad joke and self-satisfied reaction.
We like those jokes here.
Yeah,
We do.
And they said, okay, yeah, that's it, great. And so I got to be the first one to bring Maccadam to life. A couple of other roles I got actually happened while I was probably doing some pickup sessions for Maccadam. And for those who are not aware, a pickup session is when you've already recorded something, but maybe there's a line change or maybe they want something different. They call you back in so that you can do that. So I was doing some pickups, probably for Maccadam, and they said, we're still looking for a voice for a mad scientist. Have you ever heard of Boris Karloff? And I'm like, excuse me, have we met? Everyone in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. So, yeah, I knew Boris Karloff. So they said, okay, well, this is a Quintesson mad scientist. Here are the lines. Go. And so I started going, and I think maybe one of the lines that I actually got to read that day is now a meme. You're a blue one. I don't have a blue one yet.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that meme. I love that. That's been all over the place
so
recently.
Good. Yeah, you see that in every toy collecting meme.
Yeah.
Check that box off my bucket list.
Internet sensation.
I'm going to put that on my resume. Internet sensation. So, yeah. And the other character I played, actually not a lot of people know this, but there was one episode, I believe it was in season 3, called The Dweller in the Depths.
Yes.
Where they were trying to find what was left of Windblade as they were trying to put her psyche back together. and they track into the Argon Sea where they find this really creepy Titan with mind control powers who has been trying to lure Cybertronians back inside of him so that he can repopulate his body. And I got to go into my really creepy voice for that one, and that worked well. So yeah, that's how that process happened for Transformers.
That's so fun. Wow. Oh
That
my
is very
goodness.
fun.
I know, I got a cool
Exciting.
job, right?
Yeah, no,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
we're all jealous here.
And a lot of great stories. Yeah. So you've voiced characters in a variety of TV shows, video games, and movies. Which of your characters, both in Transformers and outside of Transformers, has been your favorite to play and why?
Inside Transformers, got to be Maccadam because I was
That's
the first
fair.
one who had the honor to voice him.
Yeah.
And he was also just so much fun. I mean, when you watch his character arc from the first time you see him near the end of season 1 in the episode called Maccadams, and they start dropping little breadcrumbs and hints about, who he is, where he came from, what he might be. And then as his role gets bigger and bigger, probably around the end of season 2, and then he's got a huge storyline in season 3. Yeah, that was really special for me. So he's definitely my favorite Transformer to play.
Awesome.
Other characters that I've done? Let's see. In video games, there was an indie game created by Thomas Brush called Pinstripe, and it's available on Steam. I know that. And I remember I recorded it, and it was another creepy character. I hope you're not getting the wrong impression of me by telling you these things.
I'm just gonna don't mind if you hear keyboard clicking. I'm not doing anything over here.
Okay. Well, yeah, the name of the character and the name of the game is Pinstripe, and Mr. Pinstripe is
yes.
the villain of the game, and he kidnaps a little girl and taunts the girl's father to come and find her. And he is just a really, really horrible, awful, terrible creation, which I loved playing.
Ooh, that's fun.
So I recorded it and I kind of forgot about it, but a year or two later, all of a sudden my feed starts blowing up with Pinstripe. Time magazine says Pinstripe is what? And I'm, what's going on with this? So I looked and found out that yes, the game had been released. And by this point, there were YouTube reviewers who had played the game. And I remember I clicked on one of them so I, could see, how some of the gameplay worked and also the reaction to the gameplay. And she went through like the intro to the game where this action happens, where Pinstripe appears, he kidnaps the little girl, and then he vanishes. And right after that scene where I took the little girl, taunted the father, and disappeared, the reviewer just stopped the play and said, "That guy is creepy as fuck."
It
Well, it's
looks
fun to
really
play the
cool.
bad guy
I pulled
sometimes.
it up right now. It looks really cool.
That was the best review I've ever gotten.
Right?
So yeah, he was a lot of fun to play. Right now, though, there's something I am incredibly proud of that I've been working on for the last, 2-3 years, maybe more. It is a piece of ed tech called Kabeam, Kibeam. And this is a handheld device. It's called a wand with 2 buttons on it, a small red button and a big green button.
I know what it is.
You know about
Yes,
Kabeam.
I work
Okay.
with that type of thing.
Okay, cool. And so for those who have not worked with this particular device, if the child points the beam at a book, and we've recorded a lot of scholastic titles, so this is for like pre-readers, if the child points the beam at the book, I will read it to them.
Oh my gosh.
Or
That's
I
really
will
cool.
say, by the way, if you want to play a game, shine your beam at something on the page. Or I will go through it word by word. Or I will sound things out phonetically. And I have often said that if, 20, 30 years from now, my legacy is he taught kids to read. Oh, and by the way, he was a transformer. I'd be pretty happy with that.
That's really cool.
It's a very cool device.
So, well, tell me how you have employed it in your day-to-day, Kilobyte Prime.
Well, I myself have not used it, but I did go to a conference where they showed it off
Okay.
because I do work with sparklings at a young age. when I'm not at the podcast. And so it was a conference, and so all the different projects were showing off their apps and their devices. And so I got to experience it, and they did a playthrough of the device with us. So that was very fun.
Gotta
And it
educate
is
the
very likely
protoforms
that
early.
Yes.
exactly, yeah. It's very likely that you heard my voice on that way back then.
Yes. Yes. It was about
That's awesome.
a year ago.
That makes sense, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's available primarily to educators now. I know they're working on a consumer release, but, at least it's in the schools right now for sparklings who may learn how to read a little bit differently from others.
Yes. That was fun. I
Super
didn't know
cool.
we would meet in the same space. So that was great.
Super cool.
I was like, I know
Yeah.
about this. So that was cool. I think we're ready for the next question. And I think this one's a very important one that we asked all of our voice actors is, who has been your biggest inspiration? Like either preparing for a role or just kind of getting the spark of like, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
For that, I always go back to Peter Cullen. His Optimus Prime, like I said, that show made me want to be a voice actor. Primarily Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, and listening to them throughout the decades and how those characters both stayed the same and changed
Yeah.
really made me think about how to hone my craft. And there are, of course, other people like Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill who just inspire me no end. And I was very glad that I got to meet Kevin Conroy before he passed. So, yeah, they are all huge inspirations to me. I really try to find out as much as I can about them, about their processes, because obviously the roles that they create, they stay with you. I mean, you can't say the word Batman and not hear Kevin Conroy's voice. You can't say Joker and not hear Mark Hamill's voice and suddenly think in your head, wait, that was Mark Hamill? You can't say Optimus Prime and not think of Peter Cullen's voice. So that kind of iconic performance is what I always aspire to. I may not hit it, but I gotta aim for something, and it may as well be the top. So yeah, those I would say are my primary inspirations.
That's awesome.
Very fair. Very fair and very valid. All right, moving on to our next question. If you had the chance to do anything with Prowl or Maccadam for a follow-up series, episode, or movie, what would you like to see them do? This is one of my favorite questions to ask.
I am so glad you asked that, because I have given much consideration to this. First of all, I would like to see Prowl and Maccadam used a lot in
Yes, please.
other series or movies. I was slightly heartened when I watched Transformers 1, and in the scene where they show the 13 original primes, there's one that has round lenses. Everybody else has the oblong or the square or rectangular lenses. There's one with round lenses, and there's only one prime who has round lenses, Alchemist Prime, a.k.a. Maccadam. So that's right, Bayotches. I was in Transformers 1.
Applause,
We
applause.
gotta get Paramount to do Transformers Zero, a prequel series with all the primes, and you can star as Alchemist Prime.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
I have actually thought of, proposing or maybe sitting down with Jeff Klein, because he and I often run into each other at the
Oh, that's
same
exciting.
cons because we kind of live near each other. I want to propose an Age of the Primes series.
Yes,
So that
please.
would be your Transformers Zero.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Let's
Talking
Can
about
we
go.
start
Age of
a
the Primes,
movement?
Did you get the Alchemist Prime figure?
I have several, and I will sign them at conventions near you. Yes,
That's great.
absolutely.
I'm here
So
for
can
it.
we all get together? Can we start
Yes.
a movement? Can every person
do it.
who hears this podcast suddenly raise a hue and clamor across the interwebs for an Age of the Primes series and or movie? I'll take both. It's fine as long as I'm in it.
Yeah,
Let's go.
That'd be amazing.
Let's do it. Hashtag Age of the Primes movie, everybody. Or
There it is.
series. Series Age of the Primes.
Or
Hashtag
give
something.
Dick Terhune a job.
An important hashtag. I love that. That's awesome.
Fantastic. As a follow-up question to Clickbaits, if you could voice any other character in Transformers, who would you pick and why?
Well, interestingly, when they first had me audition for Transformers, it was as Optimus Prime. And I was really super excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be the first to say I do a credible Prime. Obviously, I didn't get cast as Prime in Cyberverse, and I was okay with that because I also did not want to be the guy who screwed up Optimus Prime. So when I didn't get the role, it was like, it was an honor just to be asked and to audition. And then a couple weeks later, they called back and said, we want you to come in again, and this time we want you to read for Megatron. And I'm like, at last, the role I was born to play.
That's a 180 very quickly. They're like,
You're
know
like,
what?
I've done villains
Not
before.
the
Let's go ahead.
villain.
Sure. By the way, aspiring voice actors always play the villain if they offer it to you.
Yes.
We've heard this before from others.
Yes.
They love doing it.
Quite a few
Oh,
people,
yeah.
yes. They say that.
So I went in, I read for that, obviously did not get that one either, but while I was there, they had me read for Prowl, and they had me read for this, this new character called Maccadam. So I got those, and was very happy about that. But if there were other characters, who needs a comeback is Omega Supreme.
Yes.
He does.
We don't see him very
he
often.
does. We don't see him like at all.
I know when they started doing the combiners and like the city-sized Transformers, it's like, oh, okay. I mean, maybe he had a little ratio problem with size there. We just kind of lost Omega Supreme. And I thought, no, there's so much more you can do with that character. Okay, I am putting myself on the line right now to say, I will voice Omega Supreme if you want to put him in a new series.
We'll put him in
Gauntlet
that same,
has been thrown down. Yeah,
same
put him in our new Age of the Prime series.
Yeah, exactly.
In the
We'll add
movie.
him- we'll loop him in there.
Transformers Zero. Somebody get Paramount on the phone.
Transformers
What are we
Zero.
doing here? Come on. Hasbro, check in. Come on.
Get with the program, Hasbro.
That's funny. That's great. So we've talked about you voicing Maccadam, and you brought him to life for his first iteration in a cartoon in Cyberverse. So what are your thoughts about being the foundation of his character for the future iterations, and the second time an original Prime has been televised?
So the first time an original Prime was televised would be Alpha Trion, correct?
Yes.
I think that's correct.
So
Yes.
in
G1.
In the original.
G1.
G1,
G1, yes,
yeah.
G1.
He was in G1, but yeah, we did see him. I think we've actually seen him in just about every animated series. But yeah, Cyberverse is the first one where they said, okay, now we're going to bring another one of the 13 primes in.
Mm-hmm.
So as the foundation of the character, well, let's think back to some of the things I've already said about Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime and Frank Welker as Megatron. I mean, those guys have had those jobs for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Starscream has gone through a few different actors, but I always go back to the original screechy Starscream voice that was also the Cobra Commander voice. Frank Todaro does those now, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Buddy
Good
of
friends with
mine,
him.
and
Yes.
love appearing with him, love hearing his work.
Oh, he's wonderful.
But, he does a dead-on character interpretation of Starscream that harkens back to the original. And, that's the one. So what I'm hoping is that if/when Mac is going to make his next appearance, they say, hey, what about that other guy who did it first? Yeah, let's bring him in. I would be more than happy to have this job for the next 40 years if they want me to do that.
That'd be great. Come on, Hasbro.
Let's do it.
Come on, Hasbro.
I mean, so many gauntlets have been thrown down today.
Absolutely. Hasbro,
We're
let's
not
go.
calling
Come
anyone
on.
in particular.
Somebody pick up all these gauntlets. Gotta be an accident.
Okay. So outside of the characters that you strictly play, if you have one that is different, who is your favorite Transformers character and why? It's okay if you have more than one, or if it's the character that you voice, we just like to ask.
Well, I've always liked Soundwave.
Oh, he's so fun. I love
Yep.
Soundwave.
Yep.
The superior choice, as someone would say.
And I am not actually certain on this, but maybe you guys will. Did Peter or Frank voice Soundwave in the original series?
Frank.
Frank
Frank.
Welker.
Frank did.
Frank
Right.
Welker did.
Okay. And I mean, obviously with the vocoder they put on him, made him sound completely different. But again, that was an iconic performance and an iconic character and such a smart choice.
Oh, absolutely.
I also really like the latest iterations of Shockwave.
Yeah.
Starting with Prime. That's very much a choice. Just a brutal and horrible and so smart character. And, in Prime, he was awesome. And when Ryan Andes got the character in Cyberverse, he carried that forward. And again, a terrifying, terrifying character. Absolutely love that. Wheeljack on Prime was...
Yes, he's great.
Just chef's kiss for that one. And, I got to say Knockout.
Yes, we love
Knockout.
We love Knockout.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, Darren Norris is a joy as Knockout. Yeah, that's about all you can say.
That's fair.
Fantastic. So we got a hint of this earlier in the Q&A that you are a collector of some sort. What are your top 3 favorite toy figures? Does not have to be Transformers related.
Well, they are Transformers related.
Fantastic. We love to hear it.
And I did, just this last summer, sell off my collection of G1s. And that was a hard thing to do, but it was also hard not to have all that space when I really needed it. And, there was money, so I decided to take that. But as far as top 3 favorite toy figures, and in this case, they are Transformers, you got to go with Fortress Maximus, which I never owned. Jetfire, which I never owned. Omega Supreme, which I never owned.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Sensing a theme.
The original Devastator, which I never owned. And I know I'm way past 3, but there is one that I do own and that I still have. Actually, there are 2 that I did keep. One is a reproduction of the original Optimus Prime that I got signed by Peter Cullen 3 years ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
And an original vintage G1 Megatron in box.
Oh, that's such a good figure.
Nice.
Nice.
Which next
really
time
fun.
I see Frank Welker, I'm going to have him sign. And
Let's
those
do
are
it.
2
That's
things
awesome.
that I will keep with me.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Oh, there is one other toy I can mention outside of the Transformers realm. And I will be really impressed if any of you have ever heard of Captain Action.
Sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Anybody?
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Captain Action came out, I think, in the mid to late 1960s as a response to G.I. Joe. Because Hasbro put out the 12-inch fully posable soldier figure, G.I. Joe, and they had huge success with it. And they operated that on the Razor Blade series stratagem, where you have to buy the Razor for not very much money, but then you have to keep buying the Razor Blades. So you had to buy the G.I. Joe figure, but if you wanted him to do anything else, you had to buy accessories and other uniforms and equipment. So I want to say it was Ideal that came up with the idea of Captain Action. He was a superhero unto himself, and he could have amazing adventures. He was an adventurer, he was an explorer, he was an archaeologist, he was a brilliant scientist. But if you wanted to do something more, he also had another ability. He could become any superhero. He could become Superman. He could become Spider-Man. He could become Captain America. He could become Buck Rogers, Flash Jordan, the Phantom, the Lone Ranger, Tonto.
Wow.
If you bought those outfits and accessories.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, being, I like G.I. Joe, and then this Captain Action figure came along into my life, and, being a comic book nerd, even at an early age, I loved being able to swap out the Captain Action outfit for Superman, and suddenly I could play with a Superman figure. So, yeah, that was a most beloved toy in my collection as a youth.
That's fun. I didn't know about that. Like I went and did a little digging while you were explaining, and it looks like it was like the first action figure because you can pose it, but also became a lot of other branded characters, and so it was just kind of a way to introduce action figures to a new generation. So that was cool.
Yeah, and a different kind of action figure because, arguably G.I. Joe was an action figure, but Captain Action, he really was a prototype for the future superhero action figures that came along.
Yeah.
It's an interesting history. There is actually a book out about Captain Action, which I recommend as a read to anybody who's interested in vintage toys or in action figures, because it's very cool and it does cover the whole history, and it's at least I found it fascinating.
Is it called Captain Action, or what's the name of the book?
I want to say it's called Captain Action, or the history of Captain Action, or the Captain Action story, or something like that. If you Google Captain Action book, it'll probably come up.
Perfect. I will be looking into it. I think we're ready for the next question. This was going to be a little bit different because we've talked about your voice acting, right? You're kind of hidden behind a voice, and it's not you on the stage. But we were looking at your page, and on there you have a play called The One Man Christmas Carol, and on it says
correct,
you
yes.
play over 30 characters. So how do you prepare for this type of action and an event, especially when you have to do all 30 characters?
I'm very intrigued.
Well, the first time I did this was back in 2019, and I had 7 months to memorize the script and define the characters and get it ready to put on stage. So I think I started in April or May, like late April of that year, and my goal was to have everything in my head and down and ready by October 31st, so that I would then have like a full month and a half to really rehearse everything and fine-tune it and get it ready before we put it on stage for the first time. So yeah, that did take quite a bit of work and study, because there are over 30 characters in the script that was adapted from Dickens by a friend of mine. They all had to be unique, including the person who narrates the story, because he is a character as well. So I had to differentiate the characters enough so that you knew that if the voice changed, or if my posture changed, or my facial expression changed, exactly which character was suddenly present. That took a lot. And so then it had its initial run in 2019. In 2020, there was this thing called COVID, and so we were not able to perform it live, but we did stream it. And the following year, I began touring it, because, once you got all that stuff in your head, it would seem a shame not to use it again. So I began touring it in the Midwest, and in Boston, and in Connecticut, and did that for another 3 years, always around the holiday time. And it's always a joy. And I did it last year near here at a theater. I did it this year at another theater that's fairly close to where I live, but also in my hometown of Beatrice, Nebraska, where there is a theater that my father and I helped start. We were two of the founders of the community theater in that town in Nebraska, and that was 50 years ago. And so for their 50th anniversary season, they invited me back to do my one-man Christmas Carol. So it was really cool to get back to the hometown and do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that process is something that I have to keep in my head joyfully, thanks B, because I want to keep doing it for as long as I can. And it is a show whose message very desperately needs to be heard at this point in our human history. So I want to make sure that I keep getting it out. And the 30 voices, the 30 characters, I always try to check in with people, theater staff who are watching it, to make sure that the choices that I make are very clear, that everything I do is understood, that they're able to follow the story clearly. Even though there's really only one person on stage, I get them to believe there's 30. If that's the case, then I'm doing my job. If they are laughing and crying along with me, I'm doing my job.
That's wonderful.
That's amazing.
And how do I prepare for that every year, you may ask? Perhaps you did?
Yes.
Absolutely. I believe that was definitely in the verbiage.
Well, after my final show in December, I usually take a break. I let about a month, maybe a month and a half go by, and then I will just I've divided the story into the ghosts. Okay, so my story is divided into 4 ghosts. There's the Marley section, the Christmas past, the Christmas present, and Christmas yet to come. So after about a month and a half after Christmas, I'll start doing a ghost at a time. Like maybe one day I'll do Marley, and then I'll take a couple days off, and then I'll do Christmas past. And I'll just keep doing that throughout the year, usually until October, because by then I've got my bookings in place for sometimes as early as Black Friday in November, and then throughout the month of December. And I'll just keep doing as much as I can every day, so that by the time I'm in performance, on the day that I'll have a rehearsal, before I ever show up at rehearsal, I've already run the entire show out loud in whatever hotel room I'm in. I'm sure there are plenty of housekeeping staffs around this country who are wondering, what the hell is that guy doing? But then I will go and rehearse the show. Even on a performance day, I'll do that same thing. I will run the entire show, which is about 90 minutes, out loud in the hotel room or in the car, wherever I have time, before I ever show up at the theater. So yeah, that's the process I go through, so that I basically just listen to the voices in my head. And
Wow.
This time they're not telling me to kill.
Oh no! All right.
Oh, it's a year-long
that
process.
took
Wow.
a dark turn. No.
Everybody's awake now. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I think moving us along to our next question is, do you have any side projects you are currently working on that you're allowed to talk about? Doesn't have to be Transformers related, or could be something you're doing as a side project.
Oh, how I wish there were more Transformers projects that I were doing right now.
That's fair.
Yeah, the Transformers projects I'm working on right now are conventions, because I love doing cons. As you know, I was just at TFCon in Chicago, already booked
Great
9
times.
cons in, great times. I've already
Wow.
booked 9 cons in
Wow.
2026. Yoo-hoo! So, yeah, because I just love it.
Someone's
I mean,
busy.
there's some people who they're not crazy about doing cons, and I could name names, but I'm not gonna. But I love it, because when you're on stage and you're doing a play, like when I'm doing Christmas Carol, the feedback, the reaction from the audience is automatic. You know if you're connecting with them, you know if something hits, you know if it doesn't. But back in 2017, when I was recording Prowl and Maccadam and the Scientist and the Dweller in that studio in New York City by myself, I was never in the same room recording with any other cast member. Sometimes you wonder, did that play the way I wanted it to? And the only way I know is if I go to the cons and the fans come up to my table and say, yeah, we really loved your character. We really love what you did with that. Your show got us through COVID. That really hit with me when somebody said that. So yeah, that is a big project on my plate right now. So, look for a con near you. I will probably be there. I hope I will be there. Other voice projects that I'm working on, I already mentioned Kabeem. That is ongoing. Love doing that. I am currently at work on 2 audiobooks. One I can tell you about, one I can't. Which one would you like me to start with?
Yes.
I guess.
The one that I can't? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't. Tell you about
Perfect.
that one.
Awesome. Perfect. Just what we
Yeah.
were looking for.
Yeah. But it's a big topic. I'll tell you that much.
That's so exciting.
Can't wait to see it.
It has
Or hear it.
biblical implications.
Oh, wow.
That's as far as I'll go with that. The other one is I think they're describing it as a young adult dark fantasy novel called The Last Wizard. And
Oh.
it was written by Alex Mizgayo. I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I hope I am, because I have to say it in the book, so I better make sure I get it right. But yeah, this one is challenging. It's fun. I think it's mostly challenging because there are so many different characters, and I have to keep them straight, and things are moving, and things are changing. And in some parts of the book, I'm actually not sure who's speaking. So I have to go back to the author and say, I think he wanted that deliberately to be a mystery for the reader. However, because I'm the one reading the book aloud, I kind of have to know who's talking, right? So I've had to question the author a couple of times about, okay, who says this line, who says this line, what's going on, what is it leading to. But yeah, I actually hope to be finished recording that by Monday so that I can move on to the next book. And, you know, I'm constantly doing commercials, narrations. If anyone watches the Gaia channel, there is a series called Ancient Civilizations. I am the narrator for that.
Oh,
we talk
what?
a lot
Heard of
about
this one?
That's fun.
That's awesome.
we talk a lot about alternative history and, you know, things that, you know, 20, 30 years ago probably would have been called New Wave or New Age. Sorry, not New Wave. That was like 40 years ago. New Age. Some really fascinating stuff. So, you know, it's like I said, I got a really cool job.
It's very exciting.
That's awesome.
So a follow-up, somewhat related. What is something no one knows about you that you wish more people did know?
Wow, I'm such an open book. That's hard.
We are often told this is one of the most difficult questions.
We do frequently get told that about this question.
Okay. I'm going to go with I'm left-handed.
Okay.
I had to look at my hands for a second.
I didn't know. That works.
That
Yeah.
works, absolutely.
Meets the
this one always
criteria.
stumps people.
Yeah, but did you wish you knew that? That's my question.
I don't think
I
it.
think
It only
it's a
matters
fun
that
fact
you
to
Yeah,
know.
it's not a. It's if we wanted to wish it.
It's that
you
I
wanted to
wish
share
more
it,
people.
so-
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Some
Oh,
people
maybe
are
it
like,
comes up
oh,
in
I
a
do
trivia.
theater.
Yeah.
But left,
Okay.
you
But
know,
now we know.
left-handed, it's
Yeah.
definitely something that
actually, I just thought of another one. I thought
Oh,
if I'm
okay.
allowed more than one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
go
go
for
ahead.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's something that drove my parents crazy at the time. But
I can't wait to hear it now.
Oh, yeah. In the mid to late 70s, when we didn't have VCRs or DVDs and it was appointment television, something got imported to America by the public broadcasting system. It was called Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Oh,
I know about that.
yes.
So Saturday night, 9:30, I commandeered the TV set and watched Monty Python. My parents hated that show.
Oh my gosh.
But why did I like it? Because obviously it was stupid humor and it was incredibly funny and the guys were geniuses, but also because then I would go down to my room and I would start imitating the skits and I would start getting those accents and dialects and voices into my head, which came in handy a few decades later when I had to create 30 different characters from all over London for A Christmas Carol. So, Mom and Dad, you're welcome.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that fun fact. That's great.
Well, I got into the point in the Q&A where it's time for the actors to ask us any questions if they have any for us.
Aha, so the tables have been turned, I see.
Tables have turned.
Okay.
We want a fair, playing ground here. So, give
All
you
right,
the
well,
opportunities.
I will open the first question up to the floor. Please shout out your answers in an orderly fashion.
All at
What
once.
is your favorite Transformers series?
Oh goodness.
Mine's pretty easy. I grew up with Transformers Armada, so I like Transformers Armada, especially with all the mini-cons. That was my favorite part, just collecting all the little guys.
Okay.
Everyone knows my answer to this question.
Has this one been asked before of you, Clickbait?
No, I tend to be very vocal about this. My favorite series is Transformers Prime for a wide variety of reasons, and I thoroughly enjoy it and usually tell most people that they should watch it because it's just great. It's a wonderful
And I will
show.
say that is something that Clickbait told me in Chicago.
I believe it.
And
That's the
she
first thing she
recommended-
says to everyone.
And I had never watched the entire series. I remember I started watching at one point and I saw, bunch of kids. It's going to be Autobots taking care of a bunch of damn kids. And so I don't think I ever got past the first episode, but then I sat down and watched it and I'm like, wow. And now I regret the fact that there were like 2 opportunities for Meet, the voice actors who played those kids, and I didn't take them. So I intend to amend that next time we're all under the same roof.
Let's go.
Heck yeah.
Is it restricted to a TV show? The question that you...
I will open it up to other forms of Transformers media.
I really like the Transformers More Than Meets the Eye comics.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're really fun and very beautifully written out and drawn.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Okay, next question. You asked me about my favorite characters. I would like to know what your favorite characters are.
Grimlock.
No hesitation. Grimlock. Okay.
Yep, Grimlock.
Mine tend to shift around because I tend to find a lot of obscure characters that don't get represented enough, and so they become my favorite. But one that, when I was growing up, was my favorite was Jetfire from the Armada show because I really like his design, especially when like I saw like an Autobot could fly for the first time. I was like, what? And then he combines with Optimus, so he's the top character that I want a figure of, and Hasbro hasn't done a new one yet, and I hope the Age of the Prime line.
And the Age of the Prime series. That's
Yes. Bring it back. And Transformer Zero.
Just manifesting that. We're manifesting. Yeah.
Hashtag Transformer Zero. Let's go.
All right, Click. It's on you now.
It's on
It's
me.
all on you.
My favorite, it's become so hard to pick a favorite because as we spend more time exploring different forms of Transformers media or meeting different people who have done the different voices, it gets so hard to pick. I have always one of my favorites has always been Predaking, specifically from Transformers Prime, because I really enjoyed his story arc, and he's a dragon, so who can complain? But other than that, I've always been a fan of the bots that have jet-based alt modes. A favorite of mine has always been Optimus Prime. I feel like that's pretty telltale. But again,
he doesn't have a jet-based alt mode.
That's why he was excluded from the jet-based alt mode.
Oh, it's the way you connected them. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
my apologies.
Yeah, but
yes.
how about his upgrade in Prime when he did
That's
get
true.
the jet?
He does get wings.
Exactly. Yeah,
But it's not a
exactly.
jet though. It's just a car with wings. So it could be tracks.
Yeah,
Well,
I love all of them.
He's got to have something that propels him. There's got to be,
Well, that's what
he
you
doesn't
combine
have
with
propellers,
Jetfire.
does he? No.
Yeah. So
Does he just
lots of
flap
favorites.
really hard? No.
Maybe. You never know.
No, I watched the show and I know that he's got jets. So in your face.
I have quite a few pieces of Prowl art. I have multiple posters and figures, Megatron, Starscream. It's so hard to pick. But yeah.
And I have one final question. Have you all seen Maccadam in Cyberverse?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think he transforms into? Because we never clearly see
goodness.
it.
That's
What is
such a
your
good
interpretation?
I think he turns into. Have you seen the 2001 Robots in Disguise series?
No.
Okay, well, I think he kind of turns into like not quite a semi, but like a Cybertronian semi that's like curved in the front, like arched. But I'm not sure if he would have a tanker. It'd be cool if he had a tanker in the back, because then you can haul all the drinks.
Be full
and
of
stuff
energon.
in. Exactly.
That's right.
That's my thoughts. Like a Cybertronian semi truck, I think. Not like we see with Optimus Prime, where it's like a flat Peterbilt, but like curved. I don't know how else to describe it.
Okay.
All right.
I would probably say, I mean, we see kind of his silhouette of something in
Yeah, that's all you
Cyberverse.
see.
And obviously, whatever it is incredibly intimidating. Or he might even be a triple changer, so he might have multiple forms. I wouldn't put that past him. And I would like to say that whatever form he transforms into is obviously, whatever it is heavily fortified and armed. So maybe some kind of like armed turret or armored vehicle that has a bunch of weapons armaments on it. But whatever it was enough to, in the show, you see him stop Megatron in his tracks. So whatever it was is incredibly intimidating.
Okay.
I think
Next.
it's an armored SUV. So it's not like a pickup where it has the bed, but it's just kind of like a little bit more rounded SUV type vehicle, and definitely a little bit more well protected in armory.
That's all very interesting. I was thinking minivan.
Oh my god, I love that!
Can we canonize this? Can we get the stamp of approval from the voice actor themselves?
Specifically an armored minivan.
With extra cup holders.
When you take the minicons to
Very-
soccer,
very
you got to
important.
protect them.
Yes,
Right.
of course. He would take the minicons to soccer. Like just the dad van. Stop for treats afterwards.
All right, you kids, everybody load in.
That's great.
Play
Oh my
hard,
gosh, I
play
love
fair, nobody hurt.
Oh my god.
Maccadams would be the
just like
dad
that.
that brings all the drinks for all the kids at the team.
Oh, drinks
That's
and
for sure.
snacks, you bet. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, one of our final questions is where can the listeners find you?
You can find me on the World Wide Web at dickterhune.com. That's DickTerhune.com. I'm on the gram at Dick Terhune, also on Facebook. And, like I said, probably at a con near you in the coming year.
Heck yeah. Awesome.
Let's go.
Fantastic. And listeners, all those links will be provided in the details below. And we're going to wrap up with my favorite question of all these Q&As. Are there any words of wisdom or something special you would like to say to the listeners?
Why, yes. As a matter of fact, there are. The question that I get more often than any other question I get when I do the cons is, do you have advice for someone who wants to be a voice actor? And the first thing I say is, if you think that being a voice actor is sitting in a high-tech studio and talking all the livelong day while people pour buckets of money on you, I would invite you to follow me around for a day and try to keep up. If you want to do this job of being a voice actor, first be an actor. Do the high school shows, do the college shows, do the community theater, do student film, get on camera or on stage anytime you can and as often as you can. First, learn how to be an actor. You've already got a voice. First, be an actor. And the final part of that is, if it's something that's in your heart that you really want to do, if you have a passion for voice acting, get started and don't give up. The best time to start is today. The second best time to start is tomorrow. If you want to do it, do it.
That's some really great advice.
Fantastic.
That's a really wonderful way to put that.
Thank you so
It
much.
applies to many things in life, I think.
It does. I
Yes,
think I would
yes.
agree. Yeah. I would agree very much.
Okay, well, with that, I think our Q&A is done for today, but who knows? We'll meet up later and can talk some more.
Absolutely.
I wanna give you a big thanks, Dick, for joining us today. And again, listeners, all of Dick's social media links and everything will be in the description, so make sure you go follow them. And as always, we hope you're all staying safe out there. To all are one.
Till
All are
all
one.
are one.
And next time we meet, first round of Energons on me.
That's great.
That's awesome.